Welcome to day 3 of the 2019 World Wrestling Championships from Kazakhstan. I'm your host, David Marikatani, in the Track Wrestling Studio presented by Defense. So, once again, it's an honor to be joined by world champion, Olympic silver medalist, and actually a better guy than he was a wrestler, Dennis Hall. Dennis, thanks again for joining us, man.
No, glad to be here. Looking forward to some good wrestling again today.
We've been blessed to see 2 amazing days of Greco so far, right?
Yeah, hopefully today we can get on the podium for Team USA.
Right, we're going to dig into what happened yesterday and everything else, but just a brief introduction. They wrestled the four non-Olympic weights on day 1, 3 Olympic weights yesterday, and we'll get into how the Americans did. And the last 3 remaining weights are today, which are going to be 60, 70, or Pat Smith's weight, Adam Kood's weight, and Ildar Havisov's weight.
Yep.
So let's take a look at the highlights from yesterday because it was some amazing wrestling. That gets the blood pumping, doesn't it, man?
It does. A lot of good highlights right there.
So yesterday, as you could see, we had several guys going. It was Ellis Coleman, Joe Rao, and Giangelo Hancock. The bottom line is they all went 1-1. Lost to guys that didn't make the final, so they didn't get a chance to wrestle on the backside. Ultimately, weren't able to qualify the weight class for the Olympics. Let's just start with Ellis Coleman. What were your thoughts on how he wrestled and his overall performance?
You know, Ellis had a great first match. Looked really good. And then second match, just got caught digging and got arm thrown. And that put him in a hole. Never got a chance on top. I thought the referee protected the guy that he was wrestling in that match. You know, Ellis was pushing him around. I was kind of getting upset, wanted to kind of slap the referee upside his head, to be honest. You know, I hate when they do stuff like that. And, you know, Ellis has got a great gut wrench. If he could have got on top, he could have tied up the score and changed it big time. So, felt bad for him. You know, it's tough. You make one mistake and you pay the price, and the whole year kind of goes down the tube.
The one highlight was that the Cuban at that weight, Barrero, wrestled a couple of amazing matches and is in the finals, which means...
There's more than a couple, I'm telling you that. I watched all of them.
Yeah, but he made the finals. So Ellis, who mentioned, and there's an interview live on Track Wrestling that you can see with Kyle Klingman and Ellis, that he had lost to him twice this spring and summer. He will not have to go through him to attempt to qualify the weight. So there's at least
that's huge.
Silver lining there.
Yeah, that's huge. We got to become a Cuban fan.
Yes, exactly. Let's talk a little bit about Joe Rao. He went 1-1 as well.
Yeah, Joe, you know, he wrestled good his first match. And, you know, the match that he lost, I think he had an opportunity where he had a beautiful high dive. Just guy kind of went off to the side of him. And it's like you got to have your hands ready to lock.
We saw that on the highlight video.
On the highlight. You know, that right there changes the match. That's a 4-point swing, and you do it correctly, you're scoring 4.
And you're on top.
Exactly.
The chance to gut wrench, right?
Yeah. And Joe's got a good gut wrench when he is on top. So we can't let points on the board when we're the USA. You know, we just can't do that, and in that match we did.
And then 97 was Tracy or Giangelo Hancock. He was actually the 3 seed, although we've seen that seeds in this tournament really mean nothing.
Throw him out the window.
Yeah, for sure.
There's too many good guys.
And his reward for being the 3 seed was he drew the former world champion in the second round, so not like he really got any bargain.
That wasn't fun. I mean, it's not exactly.
Yeah.
But he wrestled well. I thought first round looked good, and the match that he lost, it was a good, hard-fought match. There wasn't anything to be ashamed of. Like I told you, the match he lost, the guy kind of lulls you to sleep, and he lulled him to sleep and did a great body attack and through Hancock, and that's tough. A lot of foreigners have a tendency to kind of go slow and then all of a sudden explode on you. So, not really a surprise there, but I was hoping that he'd do a little bit better. He's a guy that's put in the time overseas, so it's got to be disappointing. But the great point is he's young, and hopefully we have a breakout year next year. We just got to get the way qualified.
I know you got me starting to think smarter, because the two things I was going to say was that the Frenchman lulled him to sleep, and that he's really young and still has plenty of time. So you're coaching me up, man. I'm getting smarter.
That's
I appreciate
good.
it.
Exactly.
So let's talk about the 3 weight classes today. There'll be 60 kilograms, and then 77, and then 130. So at 60 kilograms, the U.S. representative is Ildar Havisov. And I know you've done a deep dive here on the brackets. I'll just start out by saying he's in the top half of the bracket and got a bye out to the round of 32, and I'll turn it over to you.
Oh, thanks. I'm glad you got that much confidence in me. You got the Russian who was 18, world champion.
Yeah.
So he's number 1 seed. And after that, on the top, I didn't find much. So that looks good for us. So Ildar's on the top. If he can win a few matches and meet the Russian who was world champ, he's good either way. He'd be pulled back in. Probably. I can't say that for sure, but my estimation he would be. Yeah.
He'll have the German wrestler first round for you guys following. Yeah. He'll be on Mat C, the 11th match, just to keep an eye out on that.
The bottom half of that bracket is pretty good. You got a world champ, silver, 16 Olympic bronze in Uzbek, 17 world champ from Japan, 13 world champion from Bulgaria, 14 and 16 bronze from Sweden, and then 17 world championship bronze from Korea. So the bottom's pretty stacked. So
you're so much smarter than me because you've lived through all this. As a guy that's watched these, I've never really dug into the brackets. I've always just kind of looked at the Americans and how they were going to do. But it is just amazing how many medals, especially in this 2019 year, as the compression begins from 10 weight classes to 6.
Yeah, it is. It's tough.
So the next weight is 77. That's where Pat Smith is. And he's in the bottom half of the bracket, the top half of the bottom half, so the third quarter bracket. And again, he drew a bye. And again, he's got the German first round. Tell us a little bit about what we should be looking at in 77.
The top half of the bracket is pretty good. You got two world bronze and I believe champ from Korea, number 1 seed. Then you have from Iran, he was a 17 world championship bronze. From Azerbaijan, you got a 2-time world bronze medalist.
Those guys are on the top.
On the top.
The top 4 guys.
Yeah, exactly.
That's brutal.
And then from Moldova, you got a silver in the non-Olympic weight class in 16, which is good. Guys were battling. Sweden took 5th in 18. So, and then on the bottom side, on the bottom side, you have the Vlasov.
World and Olympic champion.
Yeah, who's, what, if he's ready, he's going to be ready.
Pretty good at wrestling,
and he knows what's at stake here. So, and then you got the Serbian down at the bottom, I believe he's.
Yeah, Victor Nemes.
Yeah, he's tough. So.
But Lorenz is the only one in the quarter bracket that Smith's in. And again, if he can get to him, he's probably going to have to beat him, knowing where Vlasov's probably the favorite to come out of that bracket.
And I think Lorenz is older too. I read that when I was doing my homework, and I think Pat has an advantage with that because he's going to be physical. These guys do not like the way Pat Smith is going to come out and wrestle.
He's going to fight.
He's going to fight you. He's going to smack you, and he ain't going to let you grab him.
You don't like that kind of style at all, do you, Dennis?
Oh, man, I wish we had 10 guys on the U.S. team that wrestle that way.
He likes to bow. He was in your seat last year. So, according to Justin Tritz, that means you're going to be on the 2020 Olympic team. That's what I've been told. So.
That's a good joke. I love it.
So the last weight's 130 kilograms, which for the U.S. last year was really the bright spot where Adam Kuhn made his run to the finals. Based on that and his performance in the spring, he's the number 2 seed. This is an interesting bracket where it's basically a 32-man bracket with only one bye, so 31 guys versus the 64-man brackets. He's got the China wrestler first round. Why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about this bracket?
Yeah, we'll start down on the bottom side where Kuhn is. He's got China first round. Second round, he will have the Chilean, who was a 17 world bronze.
Yeah.
So he's tough. I know Adams. I believe he's wrestled him before. We got to beat him.
Yeah.
Not that he can't. That guy couldn't make it to the finals, but you know what? Start taking stuff in our own hands and quit relying on other people. Go out there, get the job done. Going up the top, you got Russia, who was 18 world champ. Pretty good dude. Then Estonia, he was a 2-time, I believe, world champ and Olympic champ. So I don't know. That's what I read.
Yeah,
so,
no, but there's a lot of medals.
18
Kim.
from Korea, Kim from Korea, 18 bronze. So I'm sure I missed a couple world medalists in there, but the talk was Lopez was going to be coming back too in wrestling, but his name's not on here. So
for sure,
they got a different Cuban. So he's I'm sure wrestling with Lopez he's going to be pretty tough too. So, you know what? We just got to get after it. These guys, Kuhn's got to get out there and be ready. One match at a time, like I always tell you. And I hope our guys come out there with an attitude and start battling from the first second of a whistle, turn it into a street fight, and get these guys thinking, I don't want to wrestle this guy for 6 minutes. Put it in his head, put it in their heads, and put some fear into them. That's one thing I think we talked about from yesterday is when these guys are down by a point or two in the last 30 seconds, they're wrestling their butts off.
Yep.
Okay, everybody. Doesn't matter if it's U.S. or any other guy in the world. They wrestle hard. My question is, why wasn't that the pace from the beginning?
Yep. Let's tell people real quick. You go to trackwrestling.com. You can get this event for $29.99. This event, everything from last year in the U23s for $49.99, or basically everything on Gold Plus for $99.99 using the password Scramble. We'll be right back.
What's the difference between the good and the great? The champion and the runner-up? Both work hard. Both show up for practice. Both work for success. So what makes them different? Others just want success. The champion creates it. We don't beg for it. We don't ask for it. We don't wait for it. We create it. Create your own success.
If our mats could talk, They would speak of hand craftsmanship, innovation, and our tradition of excellence, of our patented zip connection, exclusive Digiprint technology, the reputation our mats are known for. If our mats could talk, they would speak of our history, of champions, and of you. 60 years of tradition, 60 years of success. Resolite, the mat company.